another name for an eclipse. And when I started the series, I had lost a friend to suicide. And a little bit shortly after that, I went to Italy and did a tour of the Franciscan churches. And I had noticed that upon entering most of the churches, the ceilings were either this midnight black or this very, very dark blue. And there was something in that moment when I thought about, how we enter churches here, which are mostly white and clinical, that there's this idea of spirituality and black, and then also how we interpret black and the grieving process. So when I started these paintings, they were really about, processing this bereavement, this grieving that I was going through with this loss of a friend. The paintings were always meant to be self-sustaining in their own. They're really meant to be works individually. But then all of my work talks about the urban landscape, so I thought, why not talk about space in the space that I'm going to be presenting the painting? So I was really thinking about ways to integrate the paintings and the structure, actually, of what was happening in the gallery as well. So I think about the lines a lot like almost like a skeletal sort of surface that talks about the urban landscape and space in conjunction with the paintings. I started in caustic because I have a very varied history. So started photographing when I was in high school, and then all throughout my career as an artist, all through my education, I've been trying all these different mediums. So ceramics and installations in my master's program, and sculptural work. So I really had a hard time sort of staying true to one medium. And when I found wax, I found that I could combine all these different mediums together. So wax and pastel and graphite and ink worked well together, and then it could also be 2D and then 3D at the same time. So it was a nice way of taking all these things that I couldn't make up my mind about and sort of, putting them in this nice box of wax. So that's why I really was drawn to it. As a commercial photographer, they don't, my fine art work and commercial work doesn't really relate, but the idea of coming from a photographic background does. I really think like a photographer for the most part, and I think my paintings reflect that as well, and the things that I pay attention to outside and take note of or take Polaroids of are all stemming from a photographic background. I recently completed a residency at Cooper Union, and the space was phenomenal. It was a fantastic space to be creating art in. And in the application to that residency program, I started to experiment with a new idea of combining silkscreen, wax, and then industrial materials. So I was taking Google Earth imagery of the city from above, and then transferring that into silkscreen imagery that I would silkscreen with metal dust or glass fragments. And so, although my painting work is really about, the way we see landscape from below, from here, I started a new series talking about how to view landscape from above. There's something that I like a lot about the silkscreening process that I'm still sussing out and figuring out, and I think that's going to generate a whole new body of work. And then in relation to this series, these pieces will start migrating across the country, probably to Denver, and then also to Grants Pass, Oregon. And the site-specific nature of the installation is going to change, so that's something that I'm going to end up developing as well. So I really think about the space also dictating how I handle the integration of the painting.